All right, we are live. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Skagit County Track and Field Podcast, episode 11. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. With us today is Ben Stensland, head coach at Western Washington University. He's going to talk to us today about his program and also some county athletes and some influence stuff. So, Ben, I know that your schedule, especially right now, with finals and everything going on and prepping for indoor, is nuts. So I appreciate you finding time for us to be on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to the opportunity to chat.
You bet. All right, Jake, 2-minute drill.
All right, I'll kick it off. So this 2-minute drill. So roughly about 2 minutes. Give us a quick and dirty background on your track and field competition career and your coaching career from high school to present. And I believe you played college football as well.
I did.
So you can kind of add into that if you want to. And yeah, just in general, give us your background on it.
Oh, 2 minutes. So my high school track and field career was non-existent. I was a baseball, football guy, and then decided to go down to Southern California to pursue both, actually. And played football at Ventura College, played baseball a little bit as well. My quarterback coach took the head track and field coaching position and tried to talk me into doing the decathlon for him in the spring. And at first I said, no chance. Like, that's way too much running. Like, that sounds like a lot of work. But he did talk me into javelin. And looking back on it, I'm really kicking myself for not doing the whole decathlon thing. But through javelin, that went well. Ended up transferring up to Western to play football. Was really in the mindset of being a strength and conditioning coach, and that was kind of my goal. And then our football program got cut, and I had a bunch of my closest friends saying, or I had like one or two guys come up to me and say like, "Hey, would you mind writing me training programs?" And I said yes. And we happened to pick 3 o'clock, which is track and field practice time, and walked out to Pee Wee, who was the head coach at the time, and said, "Hey, would you mind us sharing a little bit of the field?" And Pee Wee didn't have an issue with it. We started with 2 guys, and by the end of the second week, we had 13 of these football guys, and I was working with a bunch of my friends. And at the end of the season, like, everybody transferred out because program gets cut. Coaches are out trying to find another job, and a bunch of the athletes are looking to transfer. So everybody transferred at the end of the season, and Pee Wee asked me if I wanted to help out. And I'm looking for experience in the strength conditioning world, so I started working with our track and field team, and several of the athletes basically pressured me into coming out to the track with them. And then one thing led to another. I started working with the sprint crew. My second year, Pee Wee asked me to help out with sprints. My third year, Pee Wee asked me to help out with jumps, and then so on and so forth. I ended up starting grad school at Western. Started working with the javelin, started working with the multis, and yeah, then been all over the place. And I've been at Western. I was a student assistant. Actually started when I was an undergrad. I was a volunteer. I was a graduate assistant. I was a part-time assistant. And then I took 1 year. I was offered a full-time position at Western Oregon, went down there, and then they actually created a position for me, a second assistant coaching position for me here at Western, and then came back. And yeah, Western is a hard place to leave. It's definitely something I call home, and we're building something really special here. So here to stay, I hope.
That's crazy. That's a unique route to where you're
It
at.
is. Yeah, it was funny. I was telling that story to one of our current assistant coaches, and he said, "You know what, Vince Anderson and Dan Paff tell the same story. I mean, 2 of the best coaches of all time." And that actually makes me feel a lot better because, there's a little bit of that imposter syndrome of, of am I going to get, do I need to actually participate in all these things? But yeah, it's really all about the athletes and figuring things out, and it's about problem solving. So yeah, it's been fun.
And I think that there's something to if you are able to coach something effectively that you haven't done before, I almost think that makes for a better coach at times.
Yeah, you are definitely not prone to the traditionalization of this is what I did and I performed really well, so this is what you're gonna do, and it really gets you. Clearly I've thought about it too. It definitely allows for outside the box thinking, and I think that's kind of a tribute to some of the athlete success that we've had. It's being able to problem solve and not be, stuck on one way of doing things. So
One philosophy or one specific thing. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's 100%.
yeah.
Coach Stensland, we're going to move into tying your program into the reason for this podcast, which is Skagit County. We have the longest running track meet in the state of Washington right now, and I know that there's some kids that are running for you, throwing for you, doing some things for you currently that competed in that specific event. Can you give us just a quick rundown on what athletes you currently have on the roster that graduated from a Skagit County school?
Yeah, let me think. I mean, got to start out with the legend of Maddie Lagerway. I know that she was a fantastic, yeah, right, fantastic athlete at LeConner. She's a fantastic athlete for us too, and I'm definitely spoiled to have her for another year and hopefully two. Hopefully, I can talk her into that with those COVID years of eligibility. And then we got two freshmen, Bennett Howe, which I'm really excited about. Clearly, he's a great athlete, and then really took off at that state meet and jumping 6'7". That's pretty exciting. He's also a fantastic young man, so really excited about him. And then Cassandra Schulberg, really excited about her too, giving her a shot at the heptathlon. And she's I think her eyes are about this big right now as we're going through events. And but I can't help but be really impressed by her attitude. She, the number of times that she's came back and I asked, how to go, how was practice? And she said, it was really hard, but really fun. So yeah, her attitude and her just kind of outlook on things has been really, I don't know, motivating for me. So I think she's leaning into what we're doing. So we've also had several legends of Skagit County like through the years too, like Emily Warman in 2000. I can't remember. She was a 2012 grad for us, I think. So she was a while back, and Brandon Pless, Brittany Grandy was a short-lived, but she was great to have as well. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of great Skagit County stories that we've had, and hopefully that we continue to have.
Yeah, I agree. And tying into that, I think in talking with our athletes, a lot of them don't know the recruiting process. If they want to go run for a higher school after high school, what that looks like. So, as an athlete, what's the best way for an athlete to get noticed, recruited, or to show interest in running at a place like Western?
Yeah, I think the principle would be proactive, and take it upon yourself to reach out. There is a recruiting process for track and field coaches. We try and reach out to as many people as possible. But as far as our program, what we're looking for are passionate, hardworking people. Like that's what we're looking for. And if you have a passion for track and fields, hey, feel free to reach out. I will tell you that standards are tough, and that you're looking at 2% of the population out there is going to be able to compete at the next level. But worst case scenario is we send you an email saying this is what it takes as far as performances, and then you at least know where the bar is. So yeah, I would just say, like, be proactive in your story, and that's something that our program, we take some pride in giving some ownership to our student athletes and basically empowering them. And I can start at any time, but we definitely found that the people that are willing to take a step forward and to reach out are the ones that usually are developed the most and most passionate and most like willing to get after it. So
Now, this is going to age me a little bit. If I was to reach out to you, let's say I was going to be a student at Western next year, regardless, interested in running for you, what's the best way to reach out to you? Is it to take a trip onto the campus and talk with you? Is it an email? Is it Twitter? I mean, how does that work now?
That's a good question. What's best for us is definitely an email. The walking in the door thing is really rolling the dice because we have, we got two full-time. Myself and our distance coach are the only two full-time coaches, and man, we are busy. One, we're in season all year. Two, we're managing 120 people. And three, we're kind of like short-staffed with administration, so we're doing a lot. We're doing everything under the roof. I mean, we're recruiting, we're fundraising, we're running our meet, we're alumni development, alumni connections, like the whole shebang. So walking in the door might be kind of tough. Email is definitely great. You can also they can also fill out our questionnaire, our recruiting questionnaire. You can find that on our website. Those are probably the direct email is definitely the way to go because you're able to tell a little bit of your story. Kind of express yourself. The questionnaire is a little bit more kind of like the objective thing. So,
And then I guess the last question, if I'm a county coach, and hopefully all the county coaches are listening to this podcast, but if I'm a county coach and I want to get an athlete noticed by Western, am I taking that same track, or is there something different in terms of, a coach's standpoint saying, hey, you might want to pay attention to this kid, whether they're an underclassman or soon to graduate? Is that process pretty much the same, or?
yeah, it is. Yeah, I would definitely say an email. I know that, we're one of the steps in our recruiting process has just started. It's only recent that we've been trying to reach out to coaches, and actually, John, I think that might have been the first time that we chatted was about one of your athletes. Just trying to get a little bit more information on character and work ethic and all those things. So we definitely will be responsive to emails from you guys, and that tells us definitely quite a bit about the athlete. Of if they have somebody that's in their corner and reaching out on their behalf, that goes a long way. So yeah, email would probably be the easiest unless you have a phone number, and if you do, please, don't hesitate to give us a call.
Jake, before we get to your section, this is just more of a comment, but I would love, and we could probably do our own podcast on this, but I would love to take you out somewhere, have a beer up in Bellingham. You pick the place, and I would love to figure out the process on how you recruit and where you're looking and who you're looking at, who you're looking for. And we might be able to touch on that a little bit in Jake's section here coming up. But I would love to do that sometime with you. I think that would be a blast.
Yeah, I would love that too. And honestly, I will be the first to say that, like, I don't have this magic formula and I don't have everything figured out. And I think that that's one of the things I'm doing right now is kind of exploring how can we be more effective and in finding the right people. Because we're trying to make sure that we have the right people on the bus, and that doesn't always mean the fastest or the best performers. It's really like, what is the formula to to find the people who are going to develop the most once they get to Western. That's kind of something that we're trying to objectively do. There's no perfect answer to that. I think that our program has been a program that gives opportunities, and I think that's going to be the way that we do it. But that recruiting process is definitely really important if we're trying to compete at a national stage, and that's where we're trying to take the program. So awesome. Yeah, I would love to hang out. That'd be fun.
After track season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, these are a little bit more specific to your program up there at Western Washington. So the first thing I ask, and I might ask it in kind of two ways, because I know obviously with track and field we've got a varying number of athletes. So what does a calendar year look like to be a track and field athlete at Western Washington? And I think you mentioned it slightly, but you are the head coach of cross country as well as track and field. So obviously there's a clear pathway for the distance, you would hope, running cross country into winter, into spring. But those maybe that aren't in the distance program, what does it look like for them at Western Washington?
Yeah, good question. I will say that, yeah, head track and field and cross country coach. We have a fantastic assistant who is TJ Garlotz, and he's doing a wonderful job with our distance crew. And honestly, he's doing the vast majority of that work. Like, he deserves so much of that credit of our cross country success. And then my wife is an assistant in the distance area, and she's doing a great job too. So I will say that the track and field schedule, it is a year-round thing. It's a year-round commitment. We are expecting people to stay fit over the summer. I think we got a new sprint coach this year, and it was a rude awakening for several of our sprint athletes that came out off the couch. I don't think they'll make that mistake again. I think they'll be ready to roll come October. But school starts for us. We're a quarter system. Our school starts usually the last week of September, and then we get going virtually the very next week. October, the first week of October is usually our first practice. Quarter systems are so different because semester systems, they start nearly a month before we do. And NCAA rules allows them to practice all that time. So we're
Wow.
playing catch up almost immediately, which, it's tough from a developmental standpoint, for sure. I think it might protect us from burning our kids out. But we only get a handful of weeks. We ended up getting like maybe 7 weeks of practice during the fall. And then, if we can work it out with our budget, we would like to start our first indoor competition in December. So October, second week in October, we're practicing about 16 hours a week. And then that leads us up until finals week, which was where we're at now. And then they get, 3 weeks off, or 3 weeks. They get workouts to do over the break. We hope they do them, because when they return, January 13th is going to be this year is going to be our first indoor meet, and that's the first week of school. So they're going to get, I think we get back, I think school starts on the 8th of January, and then we're competing on the 13th, a couple days later. So, and we get right into it. Our indoor season, we compete every other weekend. We usually just go down to UW, and that's plenty. There's some great competition there, especially for our distance crew. It's a destination spot for several distance coaches. We've gone there, and University of Florida and Texas and USC and all these major schools are there, and there's been several pros competing there as well. So it's always been fun. It's also, as a freshman, oh man, that's a baptism by fire, to say the least. Is you walk into that first meet, and yeah, it's definitely an eye opener. So and then we have our conference championship over in Spokane, which is a fantastic facility. It was really cool. They built that facility for indoor competitions, and then we start our outdoor season in March, and it goes all the way through May. Hopefully at the end of May, we're competing in a national championship. So does that kind of like paint that picture?
Yeah, for me,
yes, 100%. Yeah. Okay, so second question here, and I'm going to preface this by, if people haven't noticed, you guys have had quite the success both in cross country and most recently in track and field last season, sweeping both the men's and women's cross country, I believe, for the second straight year. Mm-hmm. And then you took both the men's and women's title in the championship last spring. So clearly some things are working. So what is one thing Western Washington University does better than anyone else in your conference?
Yeah, that's a great question. Can't speak to other teams, and well, I guess you can start by how it looks on the outside, and kind of like what our program looks like. And we are the biggest team in the conference. We have 121 people on our roster this year. Last year we only had 88, which was the smallest roster size that we've had since I've started. But from a objective standpoint, we compete. I think we had representation in every single event at our conference meet, which several teams aren't able to do, or it's not a part of their philosophy. But our coaching philosophy is giving opportunities to student athletes. You know, there are people that are on our team that I feel several other teams in the conference would probably turn down. But here we give them a shot and we say, hey, if you want to work really hard, this is what it takes to compete at a conference level. And, you know, they usually work their tail off and they make it happen. And so that's been kind of our style. And, you know, to win championships, things have to go right. And I think that, you know, we ran into a great group of student athletes and you know, things came together in the championship when they needed to. So a lot of it is on them. We also have a pretty fantastic coaching staff that's bought into our philosophies, and the things that you can't see are the things that we're kind of preaching to our student athletes. And starting last year, we said, you know, we're going to define our core and our values and like what we really stand for. And really, we want to be a championship team, but moreover, we really want to do it right. So, you know, the things that we're talking about and the program that we're trying to build are built on our core values of attitude, effort, and community. And we talk about those as much as possible. We bring them up, you know, frequently. And we decide to kind of define those pretty specifically. And attitude is just this idea of having this growth mindset, of you know, loving what we're doing and really understanding that you know, in order to grow, in order to get better, we need to be challenged. And accepting that challenge is really, really important. I love a challenge personally, so I think that's kind of what makes this fun. And you know, that's a really big part of the attitude that we're looking for of our student athletes and trying to cultivate as a program. And the effort thing, I mean, hey, it's track and field. Like, you better be willing to work hard. You know, it's I don't think there's another sport that's really that, you know, that straightforward of you got to work really hard in order to get better. And that's kind of given. That's not really what we talk about as much as it is competing. I love to compete and with everything. And I think that's something that we're really trying to identify with is like compete every single day. I mean, you're in practice, you're next, because that's when special things happen. And you can see it in our program history is, you know, the folks who have thrived the most have had another entity that they're trying to do that with, right? They're trying to push each other. And, you know, I don't think you ever really achieve your potential unless you have somebody next to you kind of holding you, not even accountable as much as it is like, you know, pushing you to possibly a capacity that you don't even know about. And so that's this idea of effort that we try and preach, is this competition all the time. And but that community factor, I think that's what really people have kind of sunk their teeth into and has really changed our program. Is like, hey, we have 121 people. They're doing all sorts of different things. I mean, the distance crews over there, like our throws practice off campus. They practice at Civic Stadium. Our pole vaulters practice at Civic Stadium. You know, or we have been so kind of scattered that I think that I felt like that was kind of a lost opportunity. So this community idea, and it starts with our, you know, our nucleus. It starts with our team. We want to find as many opportunities to get together as possible. And it's one thing to come from a coach, right? It's a whole nother thing. The power is really with the student athletes and them kind of buying into this philosophy. And we just happen to have the right group of student athletes right now that are all about it. So, you know, we can, as a coaching staff, we can, you know, have team barbecues and we can do banquets and we can do, you know, all these things. We can do like team building activities, but where the rubber meets the road and this community idea is, you know, the sprint crew inviting the distance crew to come to spooky new movie night or go bowling or play volleyball. And that's, that's when the special stuff happens, when everybody knows each other. And it's not, there has been times in the past where we get on the bus, like somebody will get on the bus and they'll say, I've never seen that person before. And that's not okay, right? That's not something that's not a team, right? So one of the first things that we talked about last year was this idea of, maybe I'm a little bit biased on my team sport background, but track and field is not an individual sport. It's not. I mean, not if you're trying to truly grow and improve. It takes a village, so to speak, and it takes a community. It takes a support group. It takes a team. So that is something that we're really trying to lean into, is that core value, especially, and we're trying to grow it out into the rest of our athletic department. We're trying to get involved with the other sports that are happening here, that are competing at a really high level here on campus. We're trying to get out into our campus community. We're trying to get into our Bellingham community. We're trying to get out to the Whatcom and Skagit community as well. So, it starts internally, but hopefully we're growing this thing into, something truly special and truly powerful. So hopefully we have more to talk about, on that end soon.
Yeah, and just to jump in here real quick, Jake, Ben, you said something with community that I think we have heard the other coaches that have been on here talk about. And our county track meet, for a lot of the high school coaches anyway, is like the culminating team meet. And so, especially in high school, it's hard to get across to kids that, exactly like what you said, track and field is a team sport. And granted, it is made up of individual efforts. But our goal is to score points for the team. And in all the coaches that we've talked to, Burlington, Mount Vernon, Anacortes, LaConner, Mount Vernon Christian, they all say county's the spot where that really first comes together during the season, because they are doing everything they can to try to maximize their team points. Yeah. And then for some coaches, it's about, okay, let's qualify guys and gals to the postseason as individuals, or carry that steam as far team-wise as they can. So I think that's a great value, especially at a higher level.
Yeah. Two things. One is, I am so jealous of your county meet. I just think that's the coolest thing. Western's track and field program just turned 100 years old last year, and we're trying to celebrate that this year and kind of ring in the new century of track and field here at Western. But I gotta say that 100 years of tradition and 100 years of stories, and again that idea of just competing, not at a state championship, not at like a league meet, but like some. I really hope that, like, one of my dreams is to have a little border clash with some of the Canadian schools. I just think it would be so much fun to have us in Central team up against UBC and Simon Fraser. I just think that would be the coolest thing ever. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it would be so much fun.
That would be a pretty awesome event.
Yeah.
We used to run a track meet. It's been called a lot of different things, but the latest version of it was the Clash of the Conferences. And so we would go like us and Burlington and LaConner, and we would go scored as a dual meet. So all three of those teams were as one. And we would go against three teams from either Whatcom County or from Snohomish County. So same idea. If you were able to do that, that would be sweet with Canada.
Yeah, I gotta say too, I am desperately seeking for rivalries. I just think they're, I mean, those are stories, right? Those are so cool. And you mentioned that we won both men's and women's cross and men's and women's outdoor. We did not win indoor. We lost. Both men's and women's got second to Western Oregon University, and men got second by 6 points, and the women got second by 5 points. So grand total of 11 points. And we had a bunch of athletes that were kind of like frowning and definitely bummed about that. And then I'm over there with this giant smile on my face saying, "This is going to be fun." So we met as a team on the pole vault pit, of course, and had a little chat about this is they out teamed us. That at the end of the meet, came down to the 4x4. It came down to like it came down to the men's 3K and the 4x4, and it came down to women's triple jump and the 4x4. And you could hear Western Oregon; they were everywhere. And I didn't really feel the same presence with our team. And man, I gotta tell you, outdoor, that changed. That was really fun. And there was this moment at the end of our outdoor conference championship that really, gosh, I just such a special. No words can really define how special this moment is. Of we had 75, 80 athletes lined the track with 120 meters to go, and just chanting "Dub dub you, dub dub you,"
Oh,
and
that's
it's
cool.
like it really is. Again, there's nothing that can describe it. I'm over at the finish line, timing splits, and just like definitely got goosebumps just hearing that roar come from that corner. And our student athletes on that 4x4 team, they feel it too. Definitely have had kids just like crying at the end of that meet because that was such a powerful moment. So I think that was a really great opportunity for us to define our program. I'm really excited to see people kind of carry that on, and you can see it in cross too. We had a huge following coming down to our regional meet, which our women's cross country won our regional championship, which is a big deal. There's some pretty darn good California schools. There's some really Alaska Anchorage has been fantastic for a long time, and for them to pull that off was really special. And I really do credit so much of it to our other student athletes driving down and supporting in full. So yeah, I'm really excited about those. I mean, that's what makes it special. I think that's why I got hooked on track and field too, is because there is so much of that in the sport.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jake, do you want to go
All right.
that last question there, or should we jump into influences?
Let's jump into influences, yeah, because I think we touched a little bit on that other part. So
Okay. Coach Stensland, who or what have been the three biggest influences on your coaching philosophies and why? And we've asked this question to other coaches, and it can be people, it can be books, it can be sources of media. You take it and run, but like three big, huge influences on you as a track coach.
Yeah, I'll try and be brief since I know that we might be running a little bit long. I'm surprised. I'm usually not long-winded, but here I am.
We're talking track, so
Yeah, right. Exactly. You got to be excited. So, yeah, I mean, clearly, I think it comes down to three different entities, and the first one is definitely other coaches, and spent several years. I mean, I coached with Pee Wee for 13 years, and he was a significant influence and wonderful man, and definitely one of those philosophies of giving people a chance. And our coaching staff now, all of us felt like we were just given a shot and then took advantage of it. And you can see that we're carrying that on. Like none of us were superstars. I mean, clearly I didn't even do track. None of us are superstars to begin with, but we were given an opportunity, made the most of it. And Pee Wee definitely, for that plus several other reasons, is a pretty significant influence. Dr. Ralph Vernacchia was a fantastic influence. I was lucky enough to take the last undergraduate class that he taught. I was thankful to take that, and he's just fantastic. Sports psychologist, world renowned sports psychologist. He was the sports psychologist for the Sydney U.S. Olympic team, which is pretty amazing. And then Scott Broden was a baseball coach of mine when I was a kid, and I doubt he would even remember me, but I do so cherish that opportunity to play on that select baseball team that that really gave me this sensation of that team. We knew what we were doing, and I think that that's something that that really resonated with me. Is there's a right way to go about doing things, and so really thankful for him. Several books. I think that top three are probably Pete Carroll's book, Win Forever. I really appreciate that. It's basically all about compete, just compete daily, and that's find what motivates you and compete at it. And as I've gotten into this head coaching role, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People has been a big one, and so is Good to Great. I'm kind of rereading Good to Great now, and trying to find some ties into how we can take our program to the next level. But the third one, and definitely the biggest one, is my biggest influence is our student athletes. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Like, I get motivated, and really the reason why I'm still doing this track and field thing is because you work with a passionate track and field athlete that has ambitious goals and is willing to work for it. I don't know of anything more motivating than that. So yeah, very thankful to have several of those type of people year in and year out here at Western.
You are not the first to mention Pee Wee and Ralph Vernacchia. Do you guys still host the Vernacchia invite, or is that gone?
Oh yeah, April 27th. It'll be here as long as I am.
Sweet. One guy that mentioned Ralph Vernacchia as a influence, he's the throws coach for Anacortes. His name's John Ruckdashel. He took Vernacchia's classes too, I believe. And one book that he mentioned was The Inner Game of Tennis.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so we had kind of talked about that. I have yet to read it. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but
it's on my list. Yeah.
So I'm going to add that and Good to Great, because I have not read that one either.
Oh, and also, I mean, I don't know, not trying to throw more things at you. The Inner Game of Tennis.
We'll take it all.
It is amazing. Actually, I got Pete Carroll mentioned that is Pete Carroll's book. Bang. He said this is the book that totally pivoted his career. It's really, really worth a read. And then the other one is Do Hard Things.
Yes.
Steve Magnus.
Great book.
That is a fantastic book as well. So yeah, good stuff.
Well, we'll just have to do a third podcast in addition to the recruiting one on a book club for track and field. So
Yes.
we'll add that to the list of ideas.
Yeah.
God, we're going to be at episode 85 here in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Jake.
Ben, we did want to, we have one pressing question on the off season that I definitely want to hear your thoughts on. So we had some questions on events, but I kind of want to, I'd love to have you back on maybe to talk more about events, but if you could just kind of give us a quick, like, what's the best strategy that you guys have found for coaching those multi-events? Because obviously that's something specific to the college level in terms of that. And obviously, you don't get these track athletes from high school that have done a HEP or decathlon. So what's your kind of quick strategy in terms of getting those kids caught up? And obviously, selfishly, I coached 2 of the kids that you currently have, 2 of the athletes that you have. So I want to hear it from you on that one. And again, as much as you want to dive in, but we don't want to take too much of your time on that.
Yeah, I think the first thing is patience. Thankfully, the college scene, we get so much more opportunity to work with them. It really is a hard balance. I think that you look at traditional philosophy is you train them as a sprinter. You train them for the decathletes, you train them as a 400 runner. And then you look at opportunities to improve by 100 points the fastest. So like where are opportunities to improve by 100 points the fastest? Because usually if they're going to have strong suits oftentimes, and usually you feel that they have an adequate understanding of that event, and that if you make them faster, for the most part, if you look at several of these events, if you make them faster, they're going to get better at it. And then it's looking at the technical hurdles, I guess, for lack of a better word, and most of those are the most difficult ones to, especially for the guys, are the most difficult ones to kind of master or to grasp, are hurdles and pole vault. Those are definitely the big ones. High jump can be that, especially for the women. It's hurdles and high jump. Sometimes javelin can be really tough, but those are ones that you want to try and find a higher frequency of seeing, if that makes sense. Whether that means you throw them in the warm up, whether that means you throw reps within the weight training sessions. Those are you're just trying to find more opportunities to just get in touch with those events. So yeah, the bottom line is just being able to get them fast and fit. I think that's usually where you see the biggest bang for your buck. So
awesome.
Good insight. Okay. We've reached the end. We're going to talk a little rapid fire. So for this, the idea is that we're going to ask you a question and you're going to respond first thing that comes to mind, hopefully in 1 to 2 words or less. Sound like a plan?
Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm not.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you are. Okay. Favorite place other than Western, favorite place to compete in a track meet in the GNAC Conference?
Western Oregon. Yeah, I think that we got the Olympic Oval. It's like a grass infield too. So they throw javelin on the infield, which I always think is kind of a special setup. Their throws facility is awesome. Gosh, I wish I could remember who designed it. But it was a hammer guru back in the day. And it really is. It's a beautiful place to compete.
And what city is that in?
Monmouth, Oregon.
Monmouth, that's right.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes outside Salem, 20 minutes outside Corvallis.
Okay. Okay, favorite indoor track event? Yes.
Ooh, yeah, they trying to set me up here. I do think it's the pentathlon. I do think it's it's only a handful of events, and you have to bring it with everyone, and then but it's not like overly complicated. Again, I think that the multi events 10 is a lot to try and master, but man, that pentathlon, that ladies just going out there and getting after it, I think that's probably my favorite.
Quick follow up to that. Is that over 1 day or 2?
It's just one.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then my last rapid fire question, then we'll get to Jake's, is most interesting class you've had an athlete take at Western?
I've had an athlete take.
Yeah.
I will say the one I've heard probably the most. I hope they still. I assume they still have it. It's probably dinosaurs.
Of course, Western would have that.
It's a legendary class for sure. I haven't heard athletes bring it up for several years though, so I don't know. But yeah, that's always something that people talk about, which is funny. That and I guess this is one of Lori Brilla's exercise prescription classes in the exercise science department. That's one of the. It's taken many years off of student athletes' lives, and I mean it's a great class, and she's a fantastic professor. But yeah, there's a lot of stress involved in that one. So.
Yeah, she's mean. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I got 3 more. So I don't know how long you lived there, but I did see that you went to high school on the peninsula. So this is do you prefer the peninsula or the Puget Sound?
Oh, good question. I think that I feel as though I've grown so much, like personally, here in Bellingham, that that this is probably the place for me. I think that I've came to identify with that growth here, and I think that's one of the real reasons why I find this as home. I love swim. It is definitely different than when I left. It's a couple of years after I graduated. It was town council was setting out to try and double the size of Squim in 10 years, and they brought in Walmart and Home Depot, and Costco moved into town, and so it definitely has a less of a small town vibe to it that I kind of like. But yeah, I think that growth factor is what I connect with the most and value the most, and I think that's why I would say Bellingham's home. So
All right. Track event you wish high school would add.
add. I'm gonna say the decathlon. I'm gonna say the multi events. Yeah,
I knew it.
I mean, yeah,
Yep.
I think so. I'm trying to think of what my options are. I don't think hammer would be wise. Like javelin is, half the states out there don't have javelin because it's
Yeah.
it's a risk. Um, uh, NCAA came up with a rule change or not NCAA, USA Track and Field came up with a rule change for javelin this year where you can't, there's no more picking lines. There's no more. You can't walk out into the field and throw it. All throws must be done from the scratch line. And I think it's very simply a safety thing. So yeah, hammer would be a train wreck. Steeplechase would be tempting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have to say that. I do wish the NCAA would add the 4x2. I'll go on record saying that for sure. But
Jake, before you get to your last one, Ben, here's a quick steeplechase story. Our state qualifying meet is at Lakewood High School, and the guy who runs it loves steeplechase, and so he has a steeplechase like what is it called, where it's not scored, it's just a for fun event. Yeah. And the other rule I think is you can't be entered in any events at the district meet. But if you're in that category, you get to run the steeplechase at the end. And we had some kids, not us personally, but our conference had some kids that I think it turned into a belly flop contest at the end. It was so ugly, and he was pissed. Jeff was not happy.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, you got to respect it. But it's kind of funny.
All right, and this last one may or may not be difficult to answer, but what's your favorite meet day snack?
Oh, I don't know if I have one, man. I'm lucky if I get anything. Coaching life, right?
Yeah.
I am a sucker for a donut, man. I really am. That's got to be it, especially home meets. Bill Rowe, I know has been mentioned on previous podcasts as well. But he would always bring donuts and the apple fritters and that sort of thing. That definitely that one sticks with me. But yeah, I would think I would have to go with the classic donut.
Nice.
Good one. I think for Johnny and I, it's probably coffee.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you can't sleep that night. That's real good.
Yep. Exactly.
Yes. Coach Stensland, we appreciate your time immensely. Thank you very much for coming on. And like I said from the beginning, I know you're super busy. So wedging in an hour here for us has been great. Hopefully we can, and when I say we, I mean the coaches in Skagit County, can do a better job of shuffling kids up your direction. From the sounds of it, it sounds like they'd be in great hands. And again, thank you for sharing a little bit about your program and how our kids can get recognized and possibly get up there eventually.
Yeah, thank you. And shameless plug here. It's not, we haven't gotten too far into the process yet, but we want to start, we want to serve the county well and as well, and try and find these win-win relationships. And we're working on starting some track and field camps, both a cross country camp, hopefully in August. And hopefully we're planning on getting our pole vaults afternoon or evening pole vault sessions going again too. So want to throw that out there and get anybody that's interested involved. Again, trying to find, and they're going to be reasonably priced. We're not trying to get rich here. We're trying to support our program, but we're not trying to get rich, and trying to be able to connect with people. And yeah, definitely appreciate you guys and sending folks our way and getting in touch with us, and hopefully we're in touch in the future as well. But yeah, looking forward to it. So thank you for having me too. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, our pleasure. It's been great.
Yeah.
Jake, anything else?
No, that's it. Just take care of Maddie and Cassandra for us. I know you have been, but
Yeah, watch out. Big things to come. Seriously. Big things to come. Yeah, oh, and sorry, hate doing this too. One more story is this women's conference championship. The first one in our school history of our conference championship. Maddie Lagerway was the first one to that trophy to like lift that thing over her head. And she definitely, took some great pride in that process and being a part of this
Well,
program.
she carried some weight for you in that. I was thoroughly. I'm always impressed with her, but she was doing some work. So
yeah, she's pretty great. So thanks.
Awesome. Cool.
All right,
Well,
thanks.
we'll check in later. And again, it was great visiting with you, and go Vikings.
Yeah, yes, sir. Go Vikes. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Thanks.